We are live, and this is Talking Sci-Fi.
And your host, Sean and Randee.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Sci-Fi with Randee and SYFY Sean. I'm glad to see you made it through another week, Randee.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you run any marathons this week?
I did, and I have another one next week. So yeah, I'm ready.
Cool. That's cool. You're doing great, and I really appreciate that. I pick on you a lot about it on Facebook, and if you guys start following us on Facebook, please do. You'll see a lot of inside jokes and stuff. So, this week's episode we have teased, and we're going to talk about a subject that is close to both Randee and my heart: Godzilla and other giant monsters.
Right.
So, we just had an awesome Godzilla movie, Godzilla King of the Monsters release. It was fantastic. I looked very forward to it. I'm a big fan of the old Toho Godzilla movies from Japan. I even have the ones that you can't understand anything but the word Godzilla in it, you know, but not being racial or anything, but of course you're no, it's just, you know, it's just the way it is. It's the most terrifying thing. Mm-hmm. And you know, we talked about a lot of subjects like Star Trek and things that bothered you when you were a kid.
Right.
I'll give you a little insight on me that you may not know
okay.
before we go into this storyline of the Godzilla movies and things. When I was a small child, I had a reoccurring dream that a giant monster, sometimes it was Godzilla, sometimes it was a Tyrannosaurus Rex, because I'm a big dinosaur fan, was chasing me. And I'd always go and run and hide in my parents' big living room behind my dad's chair. So I think psychologically I was running to my dad for protection in my dream. And it was reoccurring, and it was not always the same monster. But you have to, and we were talking about this earlier before the show started, about a movie called Cloverfield. Randee has never seen.
Never seen it.
It's if you have not seen it, I don't recommend it, but watch it. It's got some good things about it. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
That's what our show is about. It's just we don't know names and titles and stuff, but if we think something sucks, we're going to tell you about it. And if we like it, we're going to tell you about it.
And we could have sat up here and said, you know, I watched Cloverfield and BS my way through it.
No, but you can't, because the look on Randy's face when I was trying to describe it to him was like, was Tom Cruise in that movie? That's just because you're a dumbass off the map. But, you know, seriously. Cloverfield is a giant monster movie, and it's filmed in the way that, I don't know if you've ever seen another horrible movie called The Blair Witch Project, where they're filming kids running through a forest after some urban legend about a witch or something. I've never seen it, but I know what it is. But Cloverfield's that way, and this is what my point I'm getting to where I'm having this reoccurring dream is.
Right.
It's filmed through this kid's GoPro camera, I guess, and that's the only footage of the movie. You don't see like a big screenshot of like, here comes this giant monster. No, it's all what?
For those of y'all that are not watching, Sean is
pretending that I'm a giant monster
with his hands,
That's
which
correct.
is very good.
Oh, you can't see my hand talking now? I'm talking to my microphone with my hand that looks like a dinosaur. No, I'm kidding.
Kermit the Frog.
I'm sorry. Horrible Kermit the Frog. Quit getting me off of target. Stay on target. So, the only footage you see of this film is from this kid's GoPro. So they're looking up like, oh my God, it's a giant monster. It's throwing the Statue of Liberty's head at us and all kinds of stuff. And the giant monster is the military's fighting it, and every once in a while the kid will look up, there'll be like a jet flying over. So seeing this, I had a child flashback.
Right.
I'm not kidding you. I've got goosebumps. If you can't see,
I see it.
These are goosebumps on my arm about this movie because it was so surreal to me because of my dream.
Right.
So the kids are running from this giant monster. Yada yada yada. They get eat at the end. Sorry, spoiler alert. We don't care about the spoiler thing in these podcasts.
Especially when these movies are 30 years old.
Yeah, 30, 40 years old. If you haven't seen them yet, you're open game for it. This monster, the Cloverfield monster, isn't the major threat. It's so big it has what I call is car-sized fleas on it, and they fall off and they bounce around and they get on a giant dog and start running through the neighborhood. I'm kidding, there's no giant dog.
Oh, I'm
that was really funny.
I can't wait to see this.
So these giant fleas fall off and they're chasing the people down, they're eating them. So anyway, giant monsters, they're everywhere. They're in our nightmares. They're in Toho Godzilla movies. There's giant flying turtles with flames coming out of their armholes, flying around. Gamera, the flying turtle. You remember that one? And there's Godzilla, which is the king of the monsters.
Nancy, the 50-foot woman.
Nancy, the 50-foot woman. And what we teased in the last podcast is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man a giant monster, or is it just a sailor in downtown New York looking for a good time? I don't know. Is it a ghost? I've seen Ghostbusters. I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan. But
me too.
I think it's a giant monster.
I do too.
I think we should put him up against, not like Godzilla because of the whole flame thing, and that would be bad for a giant marshmallow.
I agree.
But like another monster, like.
But would it slow Godzilla down while he enjoyed his s'mores?
It might.
You never know. Yeah.
So that's a good point, Randy. A dumbass point, but a good point. We can put the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man up against Anguirus, which is the armadillo.
Oh, yes.
Around with a little spice. Or even Rodan.
No,
Rodan can come down and get stuck in the goo, and then it's all over. That'd be the shortest giant monster movie ever. Love for Toho monsters. If you watched, or you went to see the new Godzilla movie, King of the Monsters, it pays homage to a lot of Toho monsters, such as Monster Zero, aka King Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. Rodan, the flying bird. You had Mothra, and they're in both stages, the larval stage and the moth stage.
Yeah, that's right.
And they did really good. A lot of people were skeptical about it because it's another one of those remakes.
Mm-hmm.
And the first two American remake Godzilla movies were terrible. Did you see the one with Ferris Bueller when he was in it?
I did. I'm normally optimistic about movies and it was pretty good here and there, but you're right, it was terrible.
It was Ferris Bueller's Day Off running from Godzilla.
Yeah.
And it was not a really awesome, it was a giant iguana that had been mutated pretty much, crawling on building. Right. They simulated his breath weapon, and I guess that Godzilla, the Matthew Broderick Godzilla, was more about Godzilla's weapon, if you would call it that, is laying a lot of eggs and having a bunch of baby Godzillas running around, which is what iguanas do.
Yeah.
They're baby iguana making machines. Then you have the Godzilla movie prequel to the King of the Monsters that came out. It's called Godzilla, and it's another one of those, like I mentioned about Cloverfield. It's filmed from a different perspective where, you do have the big shots where they're fighting and all that, but most of it is kids watching the news and there's a Godzilla monster walking around or whatever. They didn't have any Toho creatures in it. They did some other, the keyword kaiju.
Right.
Do you understand what that word means?
Not really.
Okay, it's the Japanese word, I believe, and please, my internet friends, don't burn me at the cross or anything. It's the Japanese word for giant monster, kaiju.
Oh, okay.
Pacific Rim.
Yep,
You've seen Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Another giant monster movie with
yes.
robots.
Yeah.
They call them kaijus.
Yes.
And which I liked the first movie, but I thought the second Pacific Rim was better. Did you happen to trip across that one?
I liked both of them. You're saying you liked the second one better?
I liked the second one better.
I
did.
That.
They get more of a storyline, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I was with that. With you on that.
Okay, I'm great on that you were with me
on that. Yeah, because
I have loved Godzilla since I was a small child. You guys know I'm a huge Star Trek fanatic, but Godzilla was right there. I loved it. Every Saturday morning there used to be a show, I think it was called Creature Feature, and it would show on Saturday. It would always show Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and it was all that corny stuff that we grow to love. And now they've again changed it, CGI'd everything. Like in the latest movie, they're all CGI monsters and all. And I understand that, but I like the guy in the rubber suit walking around, So, not only do we have Godzilla, we have dragons. I have a dragon up there from Harry Potter. They're a giant monster.
Yes, they are.
And you've mentioned in the past podcast Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
Dragons and that. I've never watched an episode.
Right.
So do they fly around and eat people and
burn
blow buildings up and stuff? So
yeah. And
then they fire giant crossbows at them and where that the big giant rocks with, I just made the hurling sound. For one of them. I call it a slingshot. It's catapult. That's the word. This is what our show is about. It's just two regular guys talking about science fiction. You guys get it. The critics out there.
We don't even have a list here to go, oh, you know what his name is? Because I don't care. I go to watch these movies, have a good time, and I don't care about the political aspect of it. I'm just having a good time.
But and sadly, the political aspect is in every movie now. It was even Godzilla, King of the Monsters. They got greenhouse effect on us, and I know a lot of people believe in that and all, but it's not. I don't want to go to a movie. And this is another podcast we're talking about here, but just it kind of fits because we're talking about Godzilla. Right. I don't want to be preached to about political things. I want to go and enjoy, and I want to see Godzilla beating the shit out of a three-headed monster and stuff like that. Yeah. Enough said about that. We're moving on. So, other giant monsters. We have, who are we leaving out? We're leaving out King Kong.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
One of the original giant. Yeah. I love the black and white, the old stop animation one. The remake with Jack Black. Did you see that?
Yes. One? Oh yeah.
I thought when they stayed on Skull Island was the best part.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Skull Island, King Kong, Skull Island with Samuel L. Jackson. That was a great movie. He also fought some giant lizards and things in that had nothing to do with Godzilla, but actually do. But I loved how they did that.
Yeah.
Now, they're coming out with Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yes, and you saw in the cave at the end of.
No spoilers.
Oh, you're right. Okay.
They showed something about King Kong at the end of Godzilla. So.
Okay. So yes, I cannot wait. I think if they take the same path that they took in this last Godzilla movie, I am going to be very excited, and I'm very picky about what I go to the theater and watch. And I will go watch that one.
Oh, absolutely. I had read on the Facebook, as us old people call it, they're saying, well, King Kong is a lot smaller than Godzilla in size. Well, the King Kong that we saw, which is the actual Kong that's going to be in the Godzilla versus King Kong, is actually going to grow, because that was in the 70s when that movie was made, or filmed in. It was set in the 70s. So he's going to grow a little bit. We don't know if he's going to trip over some radioactive buckets on the beach, or they'll get political with this on that.
Absolutely.
That's what will happen.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I read that the directors are actually hinting that it's not King Kong versus Godzilla, or Godzilla versus King Kong. They're going to team up to fight another monster.
Oh, okay.
So they're going to have a tag team. It could be King Ghidorah, not giving away, or Monster Zero, not giving away any spoilers, but
because we really don't know.
Yeah, because we don't know. But the end of the Godzilla movie, remember what they found?
Yes, we can't talk about that.
Can't talk about that though.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's all open to things. I have seen all types of things lately. My sister-in-law that owns SNL Restaurant up on Cumbie Road, best hamburger place in the world. Insert logo here. She gave me this magazine. It's Life Godzilla. If you have a chance to pick this magazine up, not pimping any magazines or anything, but it has got a lot of good information in here about kaiju. There's Rodan, Mothra. They even talk about the guy that was in the suit. Name leaves me right now. But this picture, I'm going to tell you about this picture. You can't see it. But and our listeners and our viewers, the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that movie?
I have. It's been a long time.
Black and white.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have.
Ray Harryhausen, God rest his soul, greatest man. He is the father of stop motion animation. He created this. It has been also said that the Japanese got their idea from Godzilla, from the creature from 20,000 Fathoms.
Yeah, I have watched YouTube. I watch YouTube and watch different things on the different scenarios and how things were made, like the sound that Godzilla made and things like that. And I have run across that where they kind of compared the two and showed the differences and the same, type of things. So yeah, I know who you're talking about and what you're talking about.
So, the premise of why the Japanese did Godzilla movies. It had to do with World War II.
Yes. Do
you want to tell or do you want me to tell?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
When World War II ended, and of course we had that whole horrible fight with when Japan got involved, and we ended up dropping the big bomb on Japan to stop the war, which it stopped Hiroshima. Yeah. When Japan surrendered, the United States made it one of the what is the word I'm looking for? Not goals, but they made Japan promise and writing that they would not do any anti-America things where American soldiers were killed by military action or anything. So they couldn't show them doing a movie about them dropping of a bomb on the United States.
Pearl Harbor.
So they said, how can we do this? Because we want to have a movie production on that. So they came up with a giant radioactive monster that came up out of the sea, Godzilla, and would destroy cities and towns and not hurt one American. Raymond Burr was in that. It was black and white. Perry Mason himself. Yeah. Great movie. So that's why they invented Godzilla movies.
To represent us.
Yes, they didn't have any anti-American propaganda.
Right.
So, you know.
As long as we were giving them money to rebuild.
That is correct.
Right. Yeah.
That is correct. And so that's the way that Godzilla was created. So a lot of questions. There's a lot of awesome giant monster movies out there. Godzilla franchise has, I've run across movies that I never knew existed. Yep. They had a movie where Monster Zero King Ghidorah was a cyborg and came back from the future, back to the future, and was actually being controlled by the good guys, helping them fight monsters and things. There are all types of weapons they have used against giant monsters. They had the Mogira, which was a giant robot that was created to fight Godzilla, but they ended up using it to fight Space Godzilla, which was a really awesome thing. And every time these movies come out, they build giant war machines to fight monsters. They always lose. They always get crushed. They always get destroyed somehow. And God love the Japanese people for trying to stop giant monsters, but it's just not going to happen. Mechagodzilla is a great idea. The original Mechagodzilla and the old Toho Godzilla movies were space aliens. Came down and built a fake Godzilla. They even made it look like Godzilla, and then Godzilla beat the crap out of him, and then the metal comes out and he's a cyborg. Well, in the 90s, they had a spat of Toho remaking a lot of movies, or they don't remake, they added on to it.
Yes.
So Mechagodzilla actually became part of what they call G-Force, which is the military organization that's against Godzilla, and they call them when things are happening and all that. So they built a Mechagodzilla from the bones of an old Godzilla, because we find out through the years that there are multiple Godzillas.
Right.
They kill them with the oxygen destroyer weapon, which boils all the oxygen out. It's kind of like turns the water into acid. They killed the original Godzilla with that. Spoiler alert!
Oh!
They killed Godzilla in the first black and white Godzilla movie, but you can't keep a good monster down.
That's right.
So, in the first Mechagodzilla was built out of the bones of a dead Godzilla. And it was haunted, and it took over the Mechagodzilla and became Godzilla again. So, long story short, don't trust anything mechanical that comes out of Japan. Is that
That's
the
moral of the story.
That's the moral of the story. Don't trust Japanese technology. No, I'm kidding.
What about the rubber boots that the guy wore in the originals? That trips me out when I go
they're
back.
flat on the bottom, you know. When you look at Anguirus, we talked about earlier, there was a guy crawling around on his knees. You know. Technology's come a long way. We've talked about how in past podcasts, and please find them and listen to them, about how modernization has ruined old movies.
Oh yeah, of course.
A lot, because they're making them better, smarter, faster. They're rebuilding them faster than the Bionic Man. That's another good subject too we can talk about. But monsters, they're in every movie, mostly Toho. Yeah. But you know, you talk about American giant monster movies. Can you name me, other than the Cloverfield movie, a giant monster movie made in America?
Okay, yes, I can. And you're going to think I'm crazy, and you've never seen this, and it is Dude, Where's My Car?
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. It is one of my favorite funny movies of all time. I know it's slapstick, dumb comedy, and I like that type of stuff.
I do too.
But there's aliens showing up trying to find this crystal, and basically they won this crystal playing putt-putt golf.
Oh, God.
And there's thousands of them. You know, you get a certain score, they give you these crystals. And you got girls showing up from another planet that will give you sexual favors if they turn over this crystal.
That does sound like my kind of movie.
They get caught up in a cult, and the cult is they're looking for this crystal, and those two weed heads, which is nothing wrong with, but it is hilarious that they are out and they can't remember what they did the night before. And on top of that, at the end, this girl turns into this 200-foot woman with big breast and a short skirt, and she's tearing up the putt-putt golf place, and they're having to fight her over this fake crystal.
I gotta see this movie.
And
That's got Ashton Kutcher from that 70s show. Isn't that who that is in there?
Yeah. So you asked me American-made monster movies. Yeah, I know there's going to be some controversy, and people will say, well, that's not a science fiction movie. That's a stupid, dumb movie, like Dumb and Dumber. But I'm going to tell you something. To me, it's science fiction, and it has a big, large monster made in America.
We're talking about giant monsters,
right?
So we're good.
So there you go.
I mentioned Pacific Rim earlier. That was a kind of an American-made.
Yeah, absolutely,
movie,
and I like that.
Right.
And yes, the first one was pretty good. But you're right. I like the second one better. They took the guy that gave the big speech in the first one. Names, I don't remember names.
Right.
And his son is now, and talking to the aliens. It's like that Storm. What was the Trooper one? Oh man, I love that movie.
Starship Troopers.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
They were
the
giant
first
monsters
one?
in that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah.
The rest of them were crap, but the first one was awesome.
I agree.
They went all political again, and
Yeah.
like, oh my God, the monster's in my head, and now I'm the monster.
Yes.
I want to stick with this whole thing with the USA, movie, Hollywood, whatever. They don't make giant monster movies for the United States. It's mostly Japan holds the record on it.
Oh, yeah.
But you know that Korea had a giant monster, Young Gary.
Oh, okay, I've heard.
And it was a giant lizard kind of a guy. I've never seen it. I've just recently stumbled across it. I'm going to find that. Gamera, the flying turtle.
Okay.
That was not a Toho. That was another. Everybody thinks that Gamera and Godzilla were this. No, it's two different things, But America needs to come up with some giant monster movies. And I am scanning my brain as far back. Jurassic Park, yeah. Giant dinosaurs. What? The one, they had the one where the T-Rex actually came up on shore and was terrorizing an American neighborhood. Yeah. And I get that. There was a reference to Godzilla in that movie, though. Yeah. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
The Chinese, or the Japanese guys were running going, Godzilla!
Yeah.
I don't think they ever said the word Godzilla, but that's what they were thinking, people. Godzilla. So, step it up, Hollywood. Let's have some giant monster movies.
Yeah.
I mean, you can message us on Facebook.
Yeah.
Anywhere. And ask us a question, or if you have a comment about, well, Sean, you and Randy didn't talk about whatever, and giant monster, he was an American monster, or whatever. Do it, I mean, we want to hear it, and we'll talk about it. We'll revisit these podcasts. It doesn't matter, Yeah. So, I want to stick with Godzilla, King of the Monsters, go back to that a little bit, because that was such an awesome movie. I have not run into one person that's a Godzilla fan that did not like that movie. They paid homage to a lot of Toho monsters. It was a big fight scenes between Godzilla and Monster Zero or King Ghidorah, and the way that they put it, and if you've been following the new Godzilla trend in America, that the kaiju or the monsters are actually underneath the earth, and Earth is their planet. They're just in hibernation.
Yeah.
So when they come up and run up on King Ghidorah, they say, this monster fell from the sky, and it was a space monster, and it was an invasive species. So you hear that word all the time, like just recently they're saying, oh, you can hunt iguanas now. You've seen that on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
It was an invasive species.
Yeah.
So you have this the lionfish. That's an invasive species. The Bufu toad. That's an invasive species. Well, they go with King Ghidorah. The three-headed monster is an invasive species, and that's why these kaiju, Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, all wake up to fight this monster off, because they fought him off and buried him under the ground.
Yeah.
They kept him captive in the polar ice caps, and of course, some guy wants to release him to take control of the earth because we're trashing it and all that, But that's the storyline pretty much.
It is, and the person that there's a little twist in there. We can't say too much, but somebody's kidnapped in there.
Right.
It turns out to be that they weren't kidnapped, and that spin was different for me on the Godzilla. movie, and it really was like, wow, this is pretty cool. They made this person that more than likely is going to be a good person and going to win in the end of the day.
And they're not.
And they're not that person that you think they are. And a kid's all wrapped up in it, and it's about being a good or a bad parent.
Right.
And it's oh man, I just
again mixing in a political
right,
or a
absolutely.
thing where you just want to go and enjoy a bunch of monsters beating the shit out of each other.
You're true. Right.
But I'm right. But it draws you into the story. A lot of people said, "Oh, the plots got so long and dragged out," but I think there was a lot more monster fighting
It was
in this movie than there was in the last.
It took an hour to see anything.
Yep.
Other than the back fins in the one prior.
Right.
You know.
And my wife Lori, who is an okay Godzilla fan,
Mm-hmm.
she's part of my life. She guides us. She's a background person here on the show, and she said, "Well," and she said in the middle of the movie, "Yes, my wife will talk during a movie." Oh my God! But she said, "Where are the little fairy girls that sing Mothra, Mothra?" Remember that from the old Godzilla movies?
Absolutely,
the Mothra movies?
and they kind of spun it.
They
with,
did. It was the girl's aunts.
Yeah,
Her
okay.
twin aunts. And I like that.
But if you don't know anything about Godzilla, you have no clue.
You ain't gonna have no clue. They play the theme music. They don't sing the song. Which, damn, I wish they would have sung the Mothra song. That would be cool.
But that might have run people off that don't know.
It would have. It would have. You know, I love the Godzilla movie, The King of the Monsters. I know we're focusing a lot on that, but it's just such an awesome movie.
Yeah.
It was so much like my most favorite old Toho monster movie, which was Destroy All Monsters. Mm-hmm. It was actually the first time that King Ghidorah has ever shown up. It was created by aliens,
Right.
and all the monsters gathered to fight King Ghidorah because he was bigger, stronger, had freaking shooting lightning out of all of his orifices and stuff, you know. And they all got together. The giant spider, Spiga, was there. The Baragon, the underground monster, Anguirus, Rodan, larval Mothra,
yeah.
Minya, the baby Godzilla. Do you remember Minya?
No, I do not.
It looks like it looks like a big turd put together walking
Oh,
around.
my
But
goodness.
it's
Yeah.
for the kids. Again, branching off the kids. The giant praying mantis. I can't think of what his name is, but he goes. Can't remember, but they all got together to fight King Ghidorah. And they all fought him with their special abilities, you know. And that's what the Godzilla King of the Monsters kind of felt to me, because at the end, all the monsters came. There were monsters like some that looked like a damn, woolly mammoth with a big tusk and all that, you know. And I'm like, wow, they really went the distance for this movie. And, you know, I hope it made its money, and I hope they continue making them.
Yes, yeah, I hope they do too. And I kind of got the same sense that you did, that they all come together, which is, you know, back trying to push a political agenda also.
Right.
But they all knew that he's the king.
Right.
But yet they work together. You know what I'm saying?
Right, to help them.
And to get through it. So, yeah, fantastic movie. Had a couple people I know that said they fell asleep in the middle of it. I don't know how.
I don't know how you could fall asleep.
Maybe they're thinking of the one prior.
Maybe.
It was good, but it was slow in the beginning.
Right.
But this one was, to me, action-packed throughout. Storyline was amazing. The female trying to talk to the species and make them a weapon, if you want to say a weapon, be able to communicate and make them control them was a different spin to me, because I didn't think they would go that route in the big movie production, millions of dollar movie.
They made Godzilla King of the Monsters for the original fans.
Right.
Because you look at the oxygen destroyer.
Right,
was
yes.
brought back.
Yes,
a little bit.
right.
Again,
Yeah.
spoiler alert, we're hoping you've all watched these movies, but we're talking about it. But they tip the hat to a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even when you're talking about the Orca device that contacted the creatures to
Right.
control, that was paying homage to Destroy All Monsters, because they had a device that was like that.
Yeah.
The aliens had a device that
Yeah.
could control the monsters.
Right.
And all that. So let me throw something out of the clear blue to you.
Okay.
Are Transformers giant monsters?
They are, in my opinion.
Do you think so?
Well, here's the deal. They are giant monsters.
Aliens.
Aliens.
All right, we'll
Okay.
call them a monster.
Okay.
Unless they're Dinobots.
Here's the deal. I grew up watching Voltron and Transformers. Okay. And the best part of both of those to me is because they get huge. Well, they're huge anyways. But you take a Volkswagen Bug,
stand him up on legs and stuff, it's a giant monster.
It's a giant monster.
Right.
Okay. You take these, I don't know what they were, but they were all in their own little 5-person tiger, mechanical tigers.
It was Voltron.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then they make this big monster.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
5
saying?
mini bots make one giant bot.
Right. So that's
Yes.
what I'm getting at. They become monsters. They weren't always monsters, you know, and that really intrigued me as a kid watching, you know, I'd rush home to get home, lie about have I already done my homework so I could watch them because they came on right after I got home. So they played a big part in the big monster thing to me. Yeah, I love Godzilla and I watched Godzilla, but buddy, Transformers, man, I was all about it.
I did not see a lot of the movies because Megan Fox looks just like a greasy box of old McDonald's French fries to me.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, she's hot and all, but that bitch looks like she stinks to me. And that's so the actor choosing of that, Shia LaBeouf, I'm not a big fan of his.
He looks like you look to her. He
Right.
looks like to me.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you see the remakes, not the cartoon series? Because there's nothing wrong with the cartoon series. I loved it, and I wish they would have kept it cartoon series.
Yeah.
I don't like these live action remakes. We'll get into that to another podcast. But Dinobots. Did you see the one with the Dinobots? I forget what it was called.
You're talking about one with Marky Mark?
Could have been. And one of the dinosaurs would transform, and they would be like, I don't know. I didn't even see the movie. I don't know how they did it.
I kind of lost interest. Even though Fox and LaBeouf were, like you say, I felt the same way. I loved those movies,
Right.
believe it or not.
Right.
But when they went to Marky, I keep calling him Marky Mark. It's Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg. Yeah.
I remember him in his underwear as a kid.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay.
I do too.
So, so when Marky Mark...
I remember him from Boogie Nights, so that's my
Oh,
favorite.
God, Dirk Diggler.
Dirk Diggler, yep. Here comes Riddler Girl. Sorry, obscure reference, look it up. And then watch that movie because it's awesome. Burt Reynolds is in it. All right, go ahead.
So...
See, this is why I love this podcast, because we just don't really give a crap, you know?
I done lost. Okay, so we're talking about Transformers, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Dinobots.
Okay, Dinobots. Is that the series that Marky Mark's in, where they rebooted?
I couldn't tell you, because what was there, like 6 of those movies?
Yeah, but the first 3 had Megan. Well, Megan was
In 2 of them.
In 2 of those, but those 3 to me were my favorites.
Yeah.
The next ones with Marky Mark, dude, I get 3/4 through them, and I find myself looking at my phone or getting up and doing something else. I'm like, oh my God. So I have not seen the first one where he finds one in his tin shed on a farm that he's losing the farm because he can't pay the bank, which is so cliche, and I just like that's played out, and it just for some reason, you know, and has a problem with her boyfriend, and I just I don't ever make it through it. So.
You know, and I will stick with the Transformers because we do both agree they're giant creatures. I think what I lost interest in with the Transformers was I love the cartoon series so much. I grew up with it. And then, you know, they had the one where they had the Constructicons, all the construction vehicles, and they'd plug themselves in and turn into Devastator.
Mm-hmm.
And that was not like the original to me because it was like a big giant blob with a big mouth and all that stuff. And I know they're, again, like we've talked, trying to keep up with the times and all that stuff. But you talk about, and people are like, why are they talking about Transformers? They're not giant monsters. We're just talking, you know, giant monsters could be anything. You could say all you want, but in the original Godzilla movies and other movies, do you remember Johnny Sacco and his giant robot when you were little?
Kind of give me a little explanation.
The giant robot kind of had like an Egyptian-shaped head, shot his fingertip through missiles.
Oh, yes.
Little Japanese kid gets in him and flies around and they fight giant monsters.
Yeah.
That was a robot.
Okay.
Transformers were kind of robots, right?
So they're
robots
monsters.
in disguise.
Yeah.
That's what they get plugged in.
Right.
Ultraman.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen any Ultraman?
Kinda.
Japanese again.
Yes.
They have a space force that fights giant monsters.
Yeah.
But this guy's got this magical. I don't want to use the word for a woman's sexual pleasure toy, but it was a dildo, and it looked like it. He'd shoot it up, and then all of a sudden he's turned into Ultraman. doing his arms. He crossed the arms. You can't see it on the podcast, but giant robot.
Yeah.
Jaguar, which was in Godzilla versus Megalon.
Yeah.
It was a small toy that, and this is what I can't get in some of these giant Japanese monster movies. I built this little toy, then all of a sudden it grows to a giant robot. That's what Jaguar was.
Right.
So giant monsters come in all shapes and sizes and forms.
They do.
Don't you agree?
Yes.
It's just your take on it. Just like we go back to the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, you know? Giant monsters, bigger than life.
He's not effective against these other big monsters, but he was effective against the city and the little people running around and the cars.
All right, let's put another spin on it, Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Okay.
Ghostbusters 2.
All right.
They slime the Statue of Liberty and she starts walking around.
Oh, you're right.
Is
I
it
had
a
forgot.
giant monster?
Absolutely, because they're playing bad music, right? We didn't have to play bad music to make you.
Yep.
Well, but
No, it was a good song.
It's a good song.
love.
So, no. I can't call her a monster.
Well, it's a giant something.
Something,
A
but not a
tool, I don't
monster.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, our Ghostbusters fans are
Well, I
like,
guess-
their heads are exploding right now. But you know, think of the possibilities. I mean, look at it. We're gonna look outside of the box. You know?
That's right. There is lots of monsters out there, and we've gone over quite a few of them.
You know, even Star Trek has giant monsters in there. Next Generation had a creature called the Crystalline Entity. It was a big giant snowflake that were floating around in space, and it would suck up and kill planets and suck life force out of it. You know, giant monsters are everywhere.
Yeah.
You think of you named the dude, Where's My Car? I had no idea.
Yeah.
You know, you can go back and, you know, we were trashing on America for not making giant monster movies. They have in the past. Tarantula. It's a big, giant, black and white movie about a giant tarantula.
Yeah, that's right.
Crawling around, destroying a little town. They had the Deadly Mantis, a prehistoric mantis that was frozen in the ice, flying around, tearing up stuff.
Yeah.
Them, giant ants, terrorizing. Of course, two of those three I just named were because they stumbled on some radioactive waste.
Radioactive.
So again, stop it. Pushing your politics. I just watch a movie. The giant Gila monster.
Yeah.
That was a pretty neat one. You know, it was kind of lame and all that.
Yeah, Harry Potter had the spider in it.
Yep, and dragons as well.
dragons.
So there's giant monsters everywhere. I mean, God, I'm flashing back to giant monsters in my mind. I mean, they did every type of giant insect. You have, oh my God, A Million Miles to Earth, spaceship. Black and white.
Yeah.
Ray Harryhausen again comes back from Venus. They've found these little lizard guys that are like iguanas running around Venus. They bring one back that gets loose, and of course, when it gets exposed to our atmosphere, it turns into a giant, raging, screaming monster. And I'm gonna tell you flat out, it's a great movie if you've never seen it. A Million Miles to Earth. But the monster screams like a woman that has just seen a spider through the whole freaking thing. It's awesome and it's sad at the same time. An elephant does get killed in it. I mean, you know, but it's a great monster movie. Thank you, Ray Harryhausen, for having that. You know, so you know you got I bet you've never seen this one.
What's that?
Claw.
No.
CLAW.
No, I haven't.
It was an old black and white about a giant buzzard.
Oh, okay.
Or a condor, if you will. It was humongous. It was bigger than a 747 jet. So the whole movie, you're watching this thing, and it looks like one of those marionette puppets where you're tilting the head to go up and down, and it would fight and it was an American-made movie. And it was awesome. You know, it'd lay eggs and drop eggs on people. It ate people, and that was another. But all black and white. It seems like after the 50s, and it was all because of the nuclear age coming on with trying to invent the H-bomb and all that, and make it power sources. That they came up with this because, oh my God, nuclear energy is so bad it's going to turn a buzzard into a giant monster.
Right.
You know, so you have tons of old movies like that.
Yeah.
But Godzilla, in my opinion, was the actual king of the giant monsters.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
You know,
I'm completely 100%.
You keep looking at my little toy I have on the table.
You know?
I have the old Kenner Godzilla sitting on the table here for those of you that are not watching the video. That you had the arm that you'd put in, push the button, the arm would shoot
Right,
out,
yeah.
which Godzilla never had. So it leads me to believe this is Mecha Godzilla in disguise. It had a tongue, a plastic tongue that you pulled this little lever on the back of the head and it would shoot out, look like fire coming out of his mouth. I have this sitting here. I have found out that out of the box played with, this thing's worth like a couple grand.
Really?
So, yeah,
Wow.
I'm not kidding you. Now they had made a series of giant monsters. They had a Rodan, which was in limited release, and I hate that my parents did not get off their wallets and buy me that thing, because it was probably back then $20.
Yeah.
It's probably worth $20,000 now. And they had a giant robot.
Yeah.
Two actually giant robots that went with this series as well too. You know, when I was little, and I'm like I had mentioned many times, I was a huge Star Trek fan. But when my mom went to the grocery store, or Kmart for you aged people, or Zayre's, she'd always bring me something, because I was a little kid.
Where?
I said, Mom, bring me back what? Where? Oh yeah. Really. She goes, what do you want? I said, I want a pack of dinosaurs.
Right.
And that's what I asked for. And I got tons of little plastic dinosaurs to this day that I had from my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
And my younger brother, he would get these little Matchbox cars. And you remember those little cars that came in like an actual little box? Mm-hmm. Now they're plastiformed and like a little carded thing. They still make them. But he would get all the little construction vehicles and the tanks and all that. So he'd build a little sand. My dad was cool when we were growing up. He'd go and get maybe once a year, maybe twice, a big pile of white pure sand.
Oh, okay.
And make us a big sandbox.
Yeah.
And my brother would build a little building and stuff. So I'd come with this Godzilla that's here, I was mentioning a few minutes ago, and a couple other of my monsters. I'd come in and destroy his towns and take his cars and throw them and crash them. I was about the giant monsters. My brother was like, Mommy, Sean's went and got blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
you would be a millionaire right now if YouTube was around.
Yep, I know. I would be a millionaire if YouTube was around, But it's just been a whole thing of my entire life, and I hope we've mentioned some things to you guys out there in the internet world that's brought up something about your childhood. And again, find us on the Facebook.
Yep.
Message us with questions or stories. We love to hear them. Randy has went beyond anything to make this video blog and this podcast work. Like I'd mentioned before in previous times, I was skeptical about getting into this because everyone and their deuce is doing it. But I just want to do something a little bit different.
Right.
And, it's just two guys talking sci-fi.
That's right.
So, we have anything in closing you'd like to mention?
No. Hope you enjoy it. And what's next?
Our next show. We like to tease our next show. And we've, over the next couple months, you're going to see a couple great episodes drop.
Oh, yeah.
We'll give you a heads up of what's going on. But here we go. Something you mentioned before. We're going to talk about time travel. You can't see this in the listening land, but I have the TARDIS floating around the microphone. We're going to talk about Doctor Who, Back to the Future, H.G. Wells. I might even get a hold of my friend Thomas Galvin.
Absolutely.
A real life H.G. Wells, and let him come on the show and talk about it. This man has built a real H.G. Wells time machine. You know what this is, don't you? The lid come off. This is a Yahtzee game based on Doctor Who.
It is.
See the dice rolling around in there?
That's pretty cool.
Yes, I bought it because it's a really good representation of the TARDIS, which for years I did not get. I didn't understand Doctor Who. I still don't understand it.
Right.
Until this day, I see a blue porta potty. I call it the TARDIS.
You have just started a world of hate mail.
No. I'm not saying I hate it. It's just, I think it's beyond me in my thought process. So don't send hate mail. We'll immediately delete it.
No, we won't. Please send it. We'll talk about it online.
Shut up, Randy. Jeez. But anyway, time travel is our next subject on Talking Sci-Fi with SYFY Sean and Randee. Oh, don't forget, if you're interested, our next Sci-Fi Bartow is February the 15th. It's a yearly event in the town of Bartow, Florida. Google it. It's free to attend. This will be our 7th year. Our theme this year is Myths and Magic. And we're going to have some guests coming up in near future podcasts that have hunted Bigfoot, know about UFOs, and chased ghosts. But you can get this really cool commemorative, is that how do you say that? How do you say
You did a great job.
Did I? I think I messed it up. It's one of those, and you can't see it in listening land, but it's a stainless steel cup that has the SYFY Bartow logo on it with a really cool background. This is a 30-ounce cup. It keeps hot liquids hot all day and cold liquids cold all day. It's
Still
really
blowing
great.
my mind.
Yep. $30 for a 30-ounce. If you want a 40-ounce, a little bit bigger, nicer cup, taller, pull a little bit more beverage. They're both great cups. They're $40 for a 40-ounce. If you're in the United States, Florida, Alaska, it doesn't matter. Through this limited offer through the podcast, no shipping. It's free shipping on that if you order one of these. You need to pre-order if you're interested, because the lady at J&E Creations is going to only have a few limited of these at the show. So if you want one to show your love for SYFY Bartow, it is well worth it. It's well made. It's awesome. I love this. I've been drinking at it all through our shows. Thank you, J&E, for coming up with this idea. And I guess we're out of time. We will see you next time. And this has been Talking Sci-Fi with
Randy?
Are you awake?
I am.
Oh, okay.
Normally you finish it off. Hey, this is Talking Sci-Fi. I'm Randy, and this is
SYFY Sean. We'll see you next time.